Well, hello there, I'm Detroit, and today I want to show you how I clean up my drawings after I've drawn them. So for that, I'm not gonna bother spending 8 hours drawing with a fountain pen on a piece of paper. No, I'm just gonna type a short code. For this I use Python, in particular the Jupyter Notebook environment. And I'm just gonna type a few lines here, and that will give me a complete drawing that I can use for the cleanup part of this video. So just wait for a bit till I write all this. And done! Here's our drawing. Now let me export it in Photoshop and we'll start the cleaning process. So here's my drawing in Photoshop. I just exported it. The reason for that is I'm keeping the original size to have a bit more room to work with and not mess with the resolution too much. So the first thing I want to do is to erase every part of the drawing that I don't care about, which is the piece of paper behind. So for that I'm using the magic wand tool, and I'm kind of messing with the tolerance so that it takes like all the colored pixels that I don't want. Alright, so that's a first result. So now I'm gonna go a bit inside and see if there are any gray spots of paper still left in between the lines. And for this, it looks like I was lucky because it doesn't seem to be many places left. I'm gonna look around because, as you can see, there are some spots like this where there are little dots left, for example, and I don't want them. So I'm just gonna move them. And in order for me to see better what's behind, I'm gonna find a random color that does not appear on my drawing. So for example, I'm gonna use this horrible color and put it as a background. And as you can see, that allows me to see the areas where it's a bit messed up. So now what I can do is use a selection tool to erase what's inside, or just go in with the eraser. And I would often choose the eraser if I'm working with my drawing tablet because it allows me to be more precise. But now, since I'm using a keyboard and mouse, I'm going to use the polygonal lasso tool, try to get as many of the little things that I don't want. So just by following the outside like this, I don't have to be too precise because this is not a drawing that I'm gonna print or anything. It's just gonna end up in a YouTube video and an Instagram post probably. So I don't have to be too precise. I do like to have some clean drawings on hand just in case I want to print them at some point. Then it's gonna be useful to have kept the original resolution, for example. As you can see, I'm not being too precise here. Like, for example, if you look at this, like from up close, it's really weird. Like, there are some gray areas due to the resolution of the picture probably, but I don't really care about that, to be honest. This is probably not the best example of how I clean up a drawing, because this one seems pretty clear. And because it's black ink, it's kinda easy to clean up. If it was entirely pencil, for example, would be much harder because the tone of pencil is much closer to the tone of the paper, especially since I don't have a scanner, so I'm just working with pictures and the light is never perfect for them because I also don't have a great light yet. So yeah, again, maybe this is not the perfect example, but at least you can still see my process. And if you have any idea for a better way I could do that would save me time, for example, please tell me in the comments or send me a message on Instagram or Twitter or something. The link is below in the description, by the way. If the drawing is a bit more complicated, then I would mess a little bit with the levels and contrast and luminosity in order to try to separate as much as possible the drawing from the background, which is the paper. But I always going with an approach of using the magic wand to find the tone of the paper and just remove it. You know, now I'm a little bit mad at myself because when I started this drawing, I wanted to fill in the holes that I made with the same pattern but in pencil, like have a light gray on dark kind of pattern. But now it makes it so much harder to clean up. And because I didn't do it for the whole thing, because I got pretty tired of it and it didn't look as good as the ink did, so I just stopped doing it altogether. And now that I think about it, maybe I should have just erased the pencil before taking the picture. That would have been much better, but oh well. I think it's pretty much well cleaned up. So now what I'm gonna do is first lock this layer in place. I'm done with it, I don't want to erase it, but what I'm gonna do is duplicate the layer and I'm gonna work on this second layer. That just acts as a save file for me, so that whatever I do, I still have the things I just spent time on ready in case I have to restart it. And it's also a good time to start saving your file. So now what I want to do is use the deformation tool, because as you can see, it was supposed to be a rectangle, but it didn't really work as a rectangle. So now I'm just gonna shape it a little bit so that it looks much more like it was supposed to. Because that's the thing, when you take a picture, instead of scan it, there's always some deformation due to the fact that you are using a camera and the objective is never above all the picture. So there are always some light deformations at the sides. So now I'm just using the rectangle selection tool to see if it looks kind of like a rectangle or not enough. And for me, this is good enough. I don't need it to be perfect. And now I'm just gonna reshape the picture so that it keeps only what I want, which is as close to a drawing as possible, but still within a respectable margin. That's it. Here I have the complete drawing in black. What I often do is now lock my layer and going with a really hard black, and I'm just gonna fill completely with black. So now there are no in-between tones, so every pixel that I didn't erase is completely black. That's it for the process. Now, if I want to make a nice looking thumbnail out of it, instead of using black, for example, I can take any random color. I'm just gonna put a gradient. And that's it. Now I can also change the background so that it contrasts a little bit. And there you have it. Now I just have to save this picture, export it as PNG, and I can use it whenever I want. And if I want to make a thumbnail out of it, I'll just create a new file. For the size, I will use the classical thumbnail size, which is 1280 by 720. So now I know I'm working with the right format for a thumbnail. So I'm just gonna put the drawing like this, then shape my thumbnail out of it. I hope you enjoyed this process. I hope it helps you for the future. And again, if you have any tips on how I can make it better and more efficient, please tell me. That's all I had to say. Please consider subscribing. I post drawing videos every week for sure, sometimes a bonus video like this one. And you can also follow me on my social media. On Instagram, it's at d3_sd. Have fun now, and I will see you Sunday. Bye!